Hey Patriots, Coach McAtee here. We're going to try something a little bit different this year. In the past, what we've done with our parent meeting is we've met in the media center and gone through stuff, and I know a lot of times that's not real convenient for parents because you're busy working and whatnot, and so I wanted to try something a little bit different here. So we're going to do the meeting virtually this year, and hopefully it works well, and I'd love to hear some feedback about how we could make it stronger and what we could do. I think it'd be a good thing if it works out, but if there's things that we need to do to fix it up, all ears. Couple quick things about the season coming up. First thing is that you can imagine probably that the logistics for running a team like this are kind of difficult. So communication is going to be very important. For 2015, we have more than 50 boys on the team. Those boys are going to be working with at least 2 of the 8 coaches that we have. We have 8 running events, 4 jumping events, 2 throwing events, and 3 relays in most of the meets. And in some meets, we have some odd events. So many of those athletes are going to compete in 4 events in a meet. The team itself will compete in up to 14 meets, but not all boys are going to compete in all meets. And so there's lots to know. First thing is the boys need to pay attention at practice and communicate that to mom and dad so that mom and dad know what's going on. But the second part is that parents, you guys need to check your email. You need to also sign up for Remind, and we're going to talk about that in a second, and you need to be referring to the website so that you're aware of what's going on. I'll do my absolute best to communicate with you, but I may fall short at times, so I need your help too. It's not just a passive process. If after going through all the different steps you're not sure what's going on, please do ask me. I don't want you to be sitting around wondering what's going on. The primary way that we're going to communicate is via email. So that's going to be very important. I've entered all the emails that people have given me on the pink information sheet. There are probably a few that I couldn't read, so hopefully we'll get those errors worked out as we go. If you're not getting emails from me, there's a problem. So you have to get in touch with me so we can fix it. Probably the best way to do that is for you to email me. That way I'm sure about what your email address is. If your son does not do email, he needs to start doing email. He needs to start doing email so that he can take responsibility for knowing what's going on. If you want to add an email address to the list later on, somebody that you need in the loop will just have you email it to me, and I'll be able to add that on. If you're somebody that doesn't regularly do email, that's just going to mean that you're out of the loop at times. There's no way that I can personally communicate with every person. So if you're not an emailer, you need to work on becoming an emailer, or at least get in the habit of checking that email regularly. The other place that you're going to get a lot of your information from is off the website. That's greenvillecountyathletics.com, and we're gonna go there right now. So just bear with me as we go. If you open up your web browser, you go to greenvillecountyathletics.com, and then under high schools, you're going to go down to JL Mann Academy, and you're going to spring sports. That's what track is. It's a spring sport, and you click on it. And then over here on the left-hand side, you'll see track and field boys. That's our team website. So that'd be a good thing to bookmark so that you can get there rather than having to go through all that stuff. So here's the site. We'll pop back to our PowerPoint here so that you can see what's going on. I'm not going to email out information and forms. People that have been on the team in the past, that's what I've done is I've sent you that stuff. But everything you need is going to be posted there, right there in updated format. So if there's a schedule change, rather than emailing out a new schedule change and you don't get it, the schedule is going to be there, and every time we update, there'll be a new update there. So let me show you where that schedule is. Before you email me to ask me for information, double check and see that it's there. So the boys' schedule is right there. You can see that it will download and it opens up as an Excel spreadsheet. This one is the most recent version. It's from January the 9th, and so that's got all the information we need right there. You can ignore all these bus notes out. That's just for our bus lady right there. But anyway, there's all the information right there. Should be pretty straightforward, most of it. So that's where you're going to find a lot of your information. I would say that probably keeping that window open during the meeting that we're doing here would be a good idea, because we will be referencing some forms that are on there as well. We use a service called Remind. Some of you guys are probably already using this with your teachers, but it's a good service, and it basically allows one-way texting. So if I need to send out information and it's not really long enough to require an email, that's what I use. So you have to sign up if you're going to receive messages from Remind. There's the class code right there. It's at Mann TF 2015. And if you are not familiar with Remind, you can go right here and you can see that there's instructions in PDF format that show you how to get on Remind and get yourself signed up. So that would be that'd be very important for you. I'm going to use that to remind of deadlines, changes, cancellations. So for example, if we have a weather cancellation, the only way you would know about that, especially if we're out in the field, is for me to send you a message via Remind. So that would be really good for you to have that, and I would encourage all the athletes to have that as well. The other way that I'm going to communicate is via Twitter. I'm not a real good Twitter person. I'm new to it. I don't use it very well, but I'm working on getting better at using it. If you want to follow me, you can. I'm at Coach McAtee. I'm not going to use this for any critical announcements, so I will always send it out via email or for Remind. But I'm going to try to repeat critical information. I'm also going to try and do some updates if something really good happens at a meet that I think people need to know about. I'm going to try and tweet that while we're there, so that you can get some play-by-play. So who are the coaches? Well, there's me on the right. I'm in my 4th year at JL Mann. I'm the boys' head coach. I work with the distance runners directly as their event coach, and I work with the boys and girls throwers. I coached before this at Clemson. I was there from 2002 to 2008, where I coached women's track and field, and then prior to that, from 1998 to 2002, I coached at Cal State Northridge, which is in Los Angeles, and I was the throws coach there. Before that, I was an athlete at the University of South Carolina, and I also represented Canada in track and field internationally when I was a much younger guy. There's a picture of me, a selfie that I took when I was in Antrim in Ireland this summer. So that's me. I've got some great folks helping me out this year. I'm very, very lucky to have these guys, so I'd like to tell you a little bit about these guys. The assistant coach is Travis Alexander. He's in his 2nd year at Mann. He helped us out some last year. He teaches social studies at Eastside, so he has to rush out of school at the end of the day, jump in his car, and hustle over here through traffic to get here to coach your sons. So I really appreciate Travis and his efforts. He's going to be working with the sprints, the hurdles, the jumps, and relays. He's coached at Eastside and a bunch of other places here in South Carolina. He's been coaching for a good long time, and he was quite a good athlete himself. He ran at Clemson, was a middle distance guy out there, and had some good success running for Clemson. So we're lucky to have Travis with us. The other guy who's going to be helping us out, our other assistant coach, is Randall Wright. Randall's in his 1st year helping us out at JL Mann. And he's also going to be working with the sprints, hurdles, jumps, and relays. So he and Coach Alexander are going to kind of divide things up. So athletes will be working with one of them or the other one, or may actually in some cases be working with both of them. Randall's got a great background in track and field. He ran at Seneca High School, and he also ran in college at Lees-McRae, where he was an all-conference sprinter. So we're lucky to have his input and his perspective. You can see from the picture that he took there that he's a National Guardsman. So he's got some commitments on the weekends every once in a while where he's not going to be able to be with us, but most of the time we're gonna have him, and we're lucky to have his expertise. The other guy who's helping us out on a regular basis is Chris Markwell. Chris Markwell helped out with track last year. He's a great runner on the local scene. If you look at any results from any of the local road races, you'll often see Chris's name up there near the top. He's got a lot of real-world experience, successful businessman, and so he brings a little bit different perspective than I do. I've spent most of my life in education and coaching, and so he's got a little bit different perspective on some of the issues that we encounter, which is great. That's really to the benefit of the athletes. He's going to work with the distance runners, and he's been doing that. Most of those guys would know him from cross country and from track last year. The pretty lady sitting on his lap is his wife, Sarah. and she is our unofficial team photographer. When she's at the meet, she takes great pictures for us, and we had some fantastic ones during cross country season. So if you see her around, tell her thank you for letting Chris spend his time working with the guys, and also for all the great pictures that she takes. There's some other coaches who are going to be working with the boys. Coach Moss is the girls' head coach, helps with the hurdles. You might sometimes hear him referred to as First Sergeant Moss or First. He's a career military guy and works with our ROTC program here, and has been at it a long time, very, very successful. His assistant is Coach Pinkney. He coaches the jumpers on the girls' side, and also is going to help with our jumpers some. Coach Pinkney just got inducted into the South Carolina Coaches Hall of Fame, so he's a guy who's been around a long time and has had a lot of success. Coach Nesbitt works with the high jumpers, and probably will spend some time helping some of our high jump guys out as well. Josh Haygood is a guy that threw for me a couple years ago, was a real good thrower for us. He's busy at school, busy in working in the restaurant industry, but when he can help us out, he does, and we really appreciate having Josh. He's a great help. And then Coach Taylor, he helps out with the distance runners when he can. He's a businessman running his own business, so he's a pretty busy guy. But from time to time, he's able to come out and help us, and we're really grateful for that help as well. So to help with the communication, I'm going to need your contact info. So what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to pause for just a moment, send me a text at 864-633-9492 from your phone, and I'd like the athletes and the parents to do that both. In the text message, please tell me your first name and your last name if you're an athlete. If you're a parent, please tell me your first name and last name, and also who you have on the team. That would be a big help, because if I have your number in my phone, then it's ready to go, and if I ever need to get in touch with you because of an emergency, which hopefully we won't have, but if we do, I've got your info and I can get in touch with you right away. One of the things that we have to do with these parent meetings is have a discussion of some of the risks that are involved with the sport of track and field. So I'm going to explain a few of those risks now. If you need more information about this, a clarification, or you just want to talk more about these issues, please get in touch with me. I'm always available at practice to talk. Please don't feel like you're interrupting or intruding. Best time for me to talk is at the end of practice, but at any point if you have issues, please give me a call. I'd love to talk to you face to face. Some of you guys I haven't met parent-wise, so I'd like to get to know you and be able to associate a name and a face together. I will tell you this about track and field. The sport is very, very safe. If you look at the Center for Disease Control information, from a statistical point of view, track and field is much safer than almost all other high school sports. You have less catastrophic injuries and less chronic injuries in the sport as well. So that's the good news. The bad news is that there are some chronic injuries and acute injuries and accidents that can happen. So it's important, and it's my duty to tell you about those things. Some of the chronic injuries you're going to see in our sport include shin splints, where you get some pain in the front side of your shin, problems with your knees, problems with your hips, problems with your low back. All these things are exacerbated for us by the condition of our track. We're one of the schools in Greenville County that does not have a rubberized track. We're looking forward to getting that here sometime in the next couple years, and I think that'll actually help us. Running on asphalt is not great, and so we try and stay off that if we can, but we're pretty limited on field space. So some of the things we do that manage that risk are we use a proper progression in teaching and training. So we don't skip ahead and start doing stuff that we're not quite ready for. So sometimes athletes, you might feel like we're going too slow, but we're trying to keep you healthy and safe. The other thing we're going to do is we're going to manage the volume, which is how much training you do, and also the intensity, which is how hard we train. If we manage those two things correctly, we should be able to avoid most chronic injuries. And then we're also going to use some preventative exercise, what some people would refer to as prehab. Not rehab, that's after you get hurt, but prehab. So trying to strengthen you to prevent you from getting injured. There's also some acute injuries that we can experience in track and field. Dehydration is always an issue, not so much here at the beginning of the season because it's pretty cold and we're not sweating a lot when we're out there. But later, into end of April and end of May, we're going to get some pretty hot days, and it's pretty easy to get dehydrated. Heart attacks always a possibility. Concussions from collisions and falls. So how do we manage that risk? Well, we had everybody do a pre-participation physical screening or a physical where your doctor checked you and made sure that you were healthy and ready to go. And so that's the first step in making sure that you're fit to train and compete. And then the other thing that coaches are going to do regularly is we're going to monitor you during your warm-ups, during training and competition. So we're trying to keep an eye on you just to make sure that the athletes are doing okay. So if you ever, parents, are at the meet and you see something that makes you feel uncomfortable, or you're not sure if what your son or son's friends look like is normal, definitely point it out to the coaches. We try and keep an eye on everything, but a second set of eyes is always a good idea. Some other risks that we have are the risk of accident. Sometimes our distance runners especially are going to head out and run off campus where they're not going to be directly supervised. So there's potential for getting hit by a car. We spend a lot of time going through safety rules to make sure they understand what is acceptable and not acceptable when they're not directly under supervision. It's also in the sport of track and field possible to get hit by the shot put or the discus flying through the air, so we spend time talking about making sure you're staying clear of those areas. We have some events like high jump, pole vault, and hurdles where you're airborne at times, and so there's some potential for falls there. And then there's also potential for collisions during races if people aren't paying attention to where they're going, or they're looking one way when they should be looking another way. That can happen. So we're doing a good job supervising your son and making sure that that they're safe. But we also need your help in reinforcing some of those safety rules. There's things that we tell the kids regularly, but they're kids, and so they're probably going to need some help remembering some of that stuff. So parents, if you can help us with that, that would be great. All right, now that we've talked about the risks, let's talk about practice a little bit and how that's going to work. All practices are mandatory. You have to be on time and you have to stay for the entire training session. That's the rule. That's part of one of the non-negotiables for this whole deal. Of course, there's some exceptions. So if you're sick and you're not at school, you should not come to training. I do not want somebody coming to practice if they were not well enough to be at school. If you're too sick to be at school, you're also too sick to practice. There's also going to be some times maybe when there's some academic obligations that you need to meet. And so if a teacher requires you to stay after school to finish the test, that's going to have to be fine. If you have to stay after school for tutoring because you don't know what's going on, that's going to have to be fine as well. But you need to treat it in the same way that you would treat it if you were going to be late to a class. So if a teacher keeps you after school, you need to communicate that in advance to the coaches so the coaches know where you are, that you're not just skipping, or that you're not somewhere hurt or sick. And then when you come to practice, you need to bring a note from that teacher letting us know where you were and what you were doing and what time you got dismissed, so that we know that you came straight from your academic commitment straight to the practice. There's also some, hopefully some situations where you might have a family emergency. Hopefully you won't experience any of those, and obviously that's a special circumstance. But if you could just let us know about that stuff, just so we know what's going on and we can give you whatever kind of support we're able to give you. Here's some things that are not exceptions to missing practice. I don't have a ride. You need to work that out in advance. With only one exception that I can think of, pretty much everybody on the team has somebody that lives near them. And so if you don't have a ride, you need to be figuring that out before the day that you don't have a ride. Had to work. I know some of the guys on the team have a job. The schedule's out there. You know what time practice is. We practice every day from 4 to about 5:30. The schedule is available on the website, so you need to ask for those days off, and you need to work those things out in advance. That's part of the commitment to the team. Then other sport commitments. We have a number of guys on the team who are football guys, and we have a number of guys who play some other sports, including some community sports, and I think that's great. I'm a big believer in multi-sport philosophy, and I definitely don't want to encourage anybody to specialize in the sport of track and field. I think track and field is a sport that fits really well with a bunch of other sports, but it's really important to understand that you're a track guy until track is over. So if you're a basketball player, basketball season's over, now you're a track guy. So commit to track and stay with it until your season's completely over. And we'll talk about that in just a second so that you know what's going on. We talked about communication, and we said it was key, and I'll reiterate that. Communication is key. If you're going to miss training, you have to communicate in advance with me. Do not leave it up to your teammates to communicate for you. Do not leave it up to mom and dad to communicate for you. You're the one that's on the team, athletes. You have to be responsible for communicating that to the coaches in advance. It's also a good idea to communicate with your event coach. So if you work with Coach Alexander and you're going to be late, you need to communicate to me, and you need to communicate with Coach Alexander. Or if you're going to miss training, you need to let both of us know, and you need to do that in advance. The further in advance you let us know that, the better it is. But it's always a good idea to give us a reminder of the day of or the day before, just so that, you know, the thing that you told us 3 weeks ago, that we can recall that. With 50 guys, sometimes it's hard to keep track of the different things that are coming up. This is just like having a job, fellas. If I'm not going to be at work one day, I need to call in so that somebody can cover me and make arrangements to handle my responsibilities on that day. Same deal for you. If you're not going to be here, you need to call in just like at work. So got to let us know. It's also important for you guys to understand that academics are more important than sports. You guys are students first and athletes second. You're at Mann to get an education. And that's the most important part. The sports is just an icing on the cake. Now, having said that, I think it's super, super important. I invest a lot of my time in it, and you're going to invest a lot of your time in it. So if we're doing that, then that must mean it's pretty important. So even though academics are more important than sports, don't use academics as an excuse for missing training. What that means is you need to be organized and motivated so that you can do what you need to do in the classroom and on the track and field. You also need to be proactive. Don't wait for there to be a problem and then you react to the problem and try and fix it. You need to see those problems coming down the road. If you're struggling in math class, you need to make sure that you're doing what you need to do so that you stop struggling and you start mastering the material before you start getting those grades that are no good. Don't wait for the bad test grades to try and figure out what's going on. As soon as you think that you're stuck or you don't know what's going on, get working on it. When progress reports come out, you have to bring it to me for review and signature on the day it comes out. That was today, and I did not have a single person bring me a progress report, so I'm hoping what will happen is guys will start bringing them to me on Monday. If your grades are poor, we're going to hold you out of competition until the problem is fixed. Sometimes that problem gets fixed really, really quickly. I have some kids in my classes who I didn't get their grades in time for the progress report, so what it says on the progress report is not really what they're getting in my class. So if they go and check Portal, they're actually getting a 95, but missing the one assignment they were getting a 70. Well, the 70 looks bad. The 95 doesn't look too bad. So if that's your situation, get the situation worked out and print me something off of Portal and let's get the issue resolved. But if you're struggling in classes, then we're going to hold you out until you can get done what you need to get done in the classroom. Here's some procedural things that you need to know about. Very first one is drop-offs for training. If you're for some reason off campus for a doctor's appointment or whatever, and you need to come back to campus in time for training, or you missed the bus over at Beck and you need to get mom or dad to drive you over here, that's great. But make sure that if you're getting dropped off for practice on a school day, that you pull around to the front of the school. Very, very important that you do not come to the back of the school right at the end of the school day. Reason being, you cannot ever enter the parking area at the rear of the school as school is letting out. All the special education buses are back there, and if you drive in there while the special ed buses or even the regular school buses are in there, that's actually a violation of federal law. And so as soon as that violation of federal law occurs, the administrators of the school are trying to figure out who it is that's violating that law, and if they figure out that it's a track guy, they're coming straight to me, and then I'm coming straight to you. So let's avoid all that, and let's have you, if you're going to drop off, it needs to be at the front of the school between about 3:30 and about 4:30. If you're a senior and you've left campus, come back to practice and park in the student parking lot. Just make sure you're on time. If you left after fifth period and you're late to practice, I am not going to look favorably upon that. That is not acceptable. You need to be here on time. If you don't think you can be here on time, stay on campus. We'll find you a place to go. You can work on schoolwork. Here's some other procedures. Some of you middle school guys are taking the activity bus over to Mann, and that seems like it's working out pretty well. Any of the Beck students who need a ride to Mann for practice can take that activity bus. It's been very, very reliable this spring, so that's been great, and we're thankful for that. I teach 7th period PE, so middle school guys, when you get to school, you need to come find me so I can supervise you until practice starts. You do not need to be wandering around the school, because as soon as an administrator sees you, they're going to know you're from Beck, and then they're going to want to know, why are you not with Coach McAtee? So let's just avoid that, and let's be with Coach McAtee right at the start. Locker room procedures, very important. The boys' PE locker room is available after school to use for changing. A lot of you guys have been doing that, and that's been great. Don't leave your stuff in the locker room. When you get finished changing, bring it out to the track with you, or the weight room, or to wherever it is that we're going to. Leaving it in here unattended, never a good idea. When you leave the locker room, as soon as you walk out the door, you want to hang a right and go straight down the hallway and outside. You're going to stay on the dirt, hang a left, and stay on the dirt and walk beside the tennis courts to get to the track. Please do not cut through the parking lot. You're going to be leaving school right at the same time that those special ed buses and the regular ed buses are spinning around back there. Plus, there's going to be some teachers that park back there that are leaving. And so I don't want anybody getting run over by a bus or by one of the teachers on a rush to leave school to get somewhere. So please don't cut through the parking lot. If you're somebody that drives yourself home from practice, one of those guys, as soon as training is over, you're going to head to your car, get in your car, and you're going to leave campus. You're not going to loiter around school. You're not going to go back inside the school. Just please get in your car and head out. You're always going to park your car in the student parking lot, never in the faculty parking lot. The one exception to that would be if we had practice on a Saturday, which we don't have any plans for. If it's a non-school day, then you're welcome to park in the faculty parking lot, but it's got to be on a non-school day. So please don't take up faculty parking spots. That's kind of a big faux pas right there. We have a few guys who live pretty close to school who might be walking or jogging home, and that's great. If you're going to walk home from training, just let one of the coaches know as you're leaving. Hey, coach, I'm headed off campus. I'm walking home. That way we can keep track of everybody. And then leave practice immediately and head straight home. Don't go anywhere that you're not supposed to go. If you're getting picked up from practice, here's one of the ones we have lots and lots of problems with. So boys and parents, really appreciate if you listen real carefully to this one. If you're getting picked up from practice, you must sit in the bleachers at the track while waiting for your ride to pick you up from the school. No exceptions to that. If it's raining or if it's really cold, we're going to wait at the end of the 900 hall, so it'll be right across the driveway from where the bleachers would be. You're going to get picked up in the back, even on the days when we finish in the weight room or another inside location, always in the back. We have some students, unfortunately, in the past who ignored this procedure, and it's pretty important because I can't keep track of you if you're getting picked up in all different locations. So if you're somebody who says, you know what, I'm just going to get picked up out in the front of the school because that's more convenient for me or more convenient for mom and dad, now you've heard the request, I'm just going to suspend you from competition. So please don't do that. I don't want to put you in that situation. If you are somebody who, after having had that consequence, continues to get picked up in the front, then I'm simply going to dismiss you from the team. We need to know where your son is at all times, and we need your cooperation. And the only way I can do that with the athletes working with different coaches is if we have a situation where there's a set area where people go. That way, when it's time for me to leave at the end of the day, I can walk out, I can look in the bleachers. If there's no athletes in the bleachers, then I know it's time for me to go home and that everybody's taken care of. If we've got some guys waiting at the front of the school and some guys waiting in the art room and some guys in the media center, then we can never really be sure if everybody got picked up. And I do not want to leave anybody to fend for themselves or not get a ride. I need to make sure that everybody's taken care of. So please, parents and athletes, really need your help on this one. If you're picking up parents, you have to do everything you can to be on time. I cannot leave the school until your son has left. And so one of my issues is that I live out in Clemson and I have children to pick up as well. So if I have to wait on your son, that means my daughter is somewhere not getting picked up. And so I really need your help in making sure you're going to be on time. If you run into a situation where it's unavoidable, and I know that happens, it happens to me too, but if you're going to be later than 5:45, please call and let me know. You've got my cell phone number in your cell phone now, so just give me a call and let me know so that I can do what I need to do to take care of your son. I don't mind waiting for your son in an emergency situation. That's part of the job, but I just need the communication so I know what's going on. Okay, so what time is practice over? Depends on a lot of different things, and it's a little bit different each day. So it's really not possible to tell you exactly how long training is going to take each day. If you have to, excuse me, if you have to leave by a certain time each day, the best thing to do is ask coach right at the beginning of practice, whoever the event coach is that's working with your son, when are we going to be done? I can usually give you a pretty good estimate. There's not going to be very many times when we go past 5:30. 5:45 really would be a late practice, and every once in a great while it might be 6, but that's going to be very, very unusual. But if you need to know, just ask us at the beginning of practice, and we'll work it out. Every once in a while, practice will be canceled. Typically, if the weather's bad outside, we'll usually practice inside. That's what we've done the last 2 days. It's been a little too cold to be outside, so we've just been inside, which is fine. If it's raining outside or thundering or lightning later in the season, we're definitely not going to be outside. So we'll come inside. Every once in a while, there'll be something going on inside. We won't be able to practice inside, and then in that case, we'll have to cancel practice if we don't have indoor training space. So how are you going to know? How are the athletes going to know? How are the parents going to know? Well, if we're going to cancel, typically there'll be an announcement either at lunch or at the end of the school day or both, letting you know that boys track is canceled. So you got to listen pretty carefully to that. I'll also do an email blast in most cases, so anybody that's got a valid email address will get a reminder that practice is going to be canceled that day. I'm also going to send some out on Remind 101, so that would be real important to be signed up for that, so you know what's going on. And then I'll probably tweet that as well. So if you're paying attention to those things, you should know what's going on. There is a fee for being on the team. Each boy pays $35, and what it covers is these following items. We give everybody on the team a t-shirt. That's kind of a uniform requirement thing, so we like to wear that when we're warming up for meets. We're also going to feed your son a light meal at the meets, so that $35 goes toward helping to cover those things. Parents, if you ever want to send something extra to the meet for the kids to snack on, that'd be great. Feel free. We always could use the help. And then it also covers the athlete meal at the awards banquet at the end of the year, and that's listed on the schedule if you want to know the date for that and start to put that on your calendar. So that's what the $35 covers. The check is made payable to Jail Mann. You don't have to put track and field in there, just Jail Mann. And that really should be turned in by Thursday, February the 26th at the end of training, because our very first meet is the scrimmage on the 27th. So we're going to have to supply some food for that. So that'd be great to have that. Now, if there's anybody who's in the situation where they cannot afford to pay the team fee, please do not let that be a detriment. I will work it out with you. All you got to do is communicate with me and let me know. If there's anybody that can't really get the $35 together in time for Thursday, February the 26th, just let me know and communicate to me. Again, communication, mission critical. Pretty much everything we can work out if there's good communication. So $35 fee. So what we're going to provide at the meets is a light meal and snacks. They're not full meals. We're not going to feed the guys, banquet style every time we have a meet. We're not getting it catered. We make all the food ourselves to keep the cost down. So typically what we'll provide is sandwich. We have different kinds: ham, turkey, peanut butter and jelly. We also do chips or pretzels, and we have granola bars and other little things to snack on. We do not provide drinks, so you need to bring a water bottle to the meet. There's always a place to refill that water bottle. So we're not going to provide anything for you to drink, so make sure that you have that water bottle with you on a regular basis. Remember that those are not full meals that we're providing. So if your son's a big eater, and a lot of these guys are growing, so a lot of them are big eaters, please send extra money for him to get something extra if he's going to need it. If we're going to travel to a meet, when I send out the itinerary for the meet, that'll indicate on it that if we're going to stop to eat on the way home. So it'll never be a surprise to you if you're paying attention to the itineraries. If we're going to stop to eat on the way home, then you need to send money for meals when we get there. And if your son's ever in a situation where you forgot to hand him the money or he left the money on the way out, I'm not going to let your son sit there hungry. I will make sure that your son's fed and taken care of, and then you can pay me back when we get a next chance to see each other. So The competition schedule, we can have a look right now. I showed you that right at the beginning. Most recent version is there. Double check for changes. Things always change as the season goes. I will email you to let you know that there are changes, but you have to go to the website to see the actual schedule. I'm not going to email out schedules. Everybody on the team is going to compete up until the Greenville County meet. So the Greenville County meet is taking place in the middle of April. Everybody on the team is going to compete right up until then. The next really kind of big meet for us is our region, and that's going to be the top 4 to 5 guys per event. Now, here's the tricky part. You might be the 6th best guy in your event based on the results this season. But if 2 of the guys that are ranked in front of you on our team are not going to compete in that event, now all of a sudden instead of being the 6th best guy, you're the 4th best guy, and now you're going to have a shot to compete at region. So don't start trying to figure out when your season's over. If you're confused, come see the coaches. We'll get it worked out. Right after region is state qualifier. So that's the top finishers at our region. So the top couple guys in our region will qualify onto state qualifier. And then state meets after that. So you got to finish in the top 8 at state qualifier. That's a pretty big accomplishment. We're in 4A, and so that's going to be challenging. But we've definitely got some guys, and we've got some relay teams who I think are going to be at state meet this year. And I think we've got some guys who are going to do real well at state meet. So I'm looking forward to that. Whatever your last meet is going to be, you have to remain committed right up until the last meet. So that's really important to me. If you're going to start something, you need to finish it. And so I know as springtime rolls around and we start thinking about some of the other things that we got going, it's easy to lose focus. But I need all you guys and all you parents to stay focused on the season right until we're done at the end. Who's going to run in what meet? That's a question we always get. First things first, if you miss training, you're not going to compete. So if you're not there to practice, there's absolutely no reason for us to put you in a meet. And that also includes when you're sick. So if you've been out sick Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and we've got a meet on Thursday, probably we're not going to race you in that meet. It would have to be a pretty special circumstance. Because if you're not well enough to be at school, you're probably not well enough for us to stick you out on the track and expect you to go full speed. But we'll talk to you about that as we address those situations. Our entries for all the meet are based on performances, but that's not the only factor. We're also looking at effort, we're also looking at attitude, and we're looking at attendance. So part of it is objective and part of it's subjective. So you got to make sure that every day you're using those opportunities to convince the coaches that you're the guy that should be racing this weekend. The final decision about who enters meets is mine as head coach. So I'm the guy, the buck stops with me, and I'm the guy who gets to make those decisions. Of course, I take my advice from my assistant coaches. So if the assistant coaches feel like you need to compete, I don't usually overrule that. There's not too many circumstances where I would overrule the guys that are working with you on a day-to-day basis. Entries happen on the week of the meet. Typically, if we're competing on Friday, we need to have our entries in by Tuesday. If we're competing on Saturday, usually it's Wednesday. And then as soon as I have events and times and we figured all that out, we provide you that in the form of an itinerary. So I'm going to hand out paper copies at training, and then I'll also post the itinerary as an Excel spreadsheet on the website, and it'll be listed as an itinerary. So if you parents, if you're looking for that itinerary and you didn't make it home from practice, that's where you go and look. If you know, boys, that you can't make it to a meet, let us know as soon as you know. We need to fill your spot. Some of our meets were real limited on entries, and if they only let us have 3 people and we enter you, and then you say, oh yeah, by the way, that's the weekend I'm taking the SAT, then we may or may not be able to substitute somebody else in. So if you know in advance that, hey, I'm not going to be at a meet in August, or I'm not going to be at this meet, or I'm leaving early for spring break or whatever, then shoot me an email and let me know that so that I can address those things as we do our entries. Everybody wants to know about uniforms. We're going to supply you with a short pair of shorts and a singlet, and those must be worn for competition. Doesn't matter if you like them or dislike them. That's the uniform. That's what we wear. So whenever you're competing, you need to be wearing what it is that we supply for you. Do not wear your uniform to school. It doesn't meet dress code. And do not wear it to training. It is not training apparel. Everyone on the team is going to be issued a navy and white uniform. Those are the old style uniforms that we've been using. We're going to issue those probably this Thursday for the guys that are going to be competing in the scrimmage on Friday. So everybody will get one of those navy and white uniforms. Some guys on the team are also going to be issued a red and Columbia blue uniform, and those ones are the new style uniforms. And so those would be guys that have shown themselves to be kind of varsity level type guys. Those probably won't get issued in the first couple meets. We're going to just make sure that everybody's headed the right direction before we start giving out the varsity uniforms and designation. If you're issued both of those uniforms, if you're one of those guys, make sure you bring both with you to every meet. We need to be able to put you in whatever uniforms required on the day so that you can match up with everybody else. So have them with you at all times. Parents, how are you going to look after these uniforms? Well, they have to get washed in cold on the gentle cycle. Don't wash them with work clothes. They're pretty delicate. When you're done washing them, hang them up to dry or put them out on a bath towel. Moms, this would be kind of like washing lingerie. Got to be really, really careful with them. They're very, very easy to damage. Uniforms are numbered, so inside them on the tag there is a control number. Every year we have somebody turn in a uniform that's not theirs, which is absolutely no problem as long as the person that has your uniform also turns the uniform in. One year we had a guy turn in a uniform that wasn't his, and then the uniform that was his didn't get turned in, and he wound up getting billed for the one that didn't get turned in. So we don't want to be in that situation. If the uniform is lost or damaged, we put you on the school obligation list for $75. So we definitely want to take care of those uniforms. We need to make them last. This is not a place where we're swimming in money, so we need to look after our resources as best we can. Some guys like to wear compression wear, especially in the first couple meets because it can be cold, especially when it gets dark. I'm guessing Friday night when we scrimmage, it's going to be kind of cold out there. The other thing to remember too is that dressing in layers is always good advice. It's really easy to take off clothes if you're too hot, but not so easy to address if didn't bring enough clothing and you're cold. Being cold is also a risk factor for injuries. If you're dressed warmly, you're less likely to get injured. So that's going to be pretty important. We don't want anybody getting hurt in the first couple meets of the season. The compression wear can be worn under the uniforms. You can wear long or short sleeve shirts, doesn't make any difference. Can be shorts or tights, long or short, doesn't matter. But it has to be navy blue. No exceptions to that rule. Navy blue, only color compression wear that we wear. And it cannot have any printing or logos or anything like that. It has to be just plain navy blue compression wear. If you have any questions about that, come see me. We're getting a team t-shirt. I'm still working on the design with the folks that do the shirts for us. Every boy on the team is going to get one of those t-shirts. The cost is included in his $35 team fee. I already have the sizes that was listed on the pink information sheet, so I don't need you to communicate that to me. I got it. I'm going to also order some extras. Usually I order, like if we have 50 guys on the team, usually I order about 75. And then whatever extras we have, I offer them for sale once all the team members have theirs. The cost of those will be $10, and those will be offered on a first-come, first-served basis. So first person to show up with a cash or a check for $10, that's the first person to get those shirts. Boys, you really should consider wearing your shirt to school on the day of the meet or the day before for Saturday meets. One of the things we need to do is market and let people know what we're doing. We're out here working hard and we're doing a great job, and so we need the folks at our school to know what we're doing and what we're all about, and that you're on the team. We're proud of you, and we want everybody else at the school to know about you and be proud of you as well. We're also going to get wind jackets this year, just like we've done in the past. Parents, these are not mandatory. You're not required to get these wind jackets. The cost for the wind jackets is $60, and that includes embroidery of your name. The jacket is exactly the same as last year's track and field, and it's the same as the last couple years of cross country. So if you've already got one, there's absolutely no need to order a new one. You've already got it all set. There's only going to be one chance to order. So if you want to order one, you need to jump on it pretty quick here. Parents, if you want to order one, we've had parents do that in the past. They're nice jackets, but you have to fill out an order form as well. The order form is on the website, so let's have a look at that. Here we go right here, wind jacket order form. It downloads as a Word doc, so you open that sucker up and you're going to print it out. I need the name of the athlete up there so I can keep everybody's order straight. And then the important part is for each jacket, I need the size circled, and I would let these jackets run a little small, especially in the wrist, so I might go up a little bit. Best thing to do would be to find one of the guys who's already got one and to try on their jacket and figure out, if it fits you. Anybody who was on the team last year probably has one. Any of the guys that ran cross country have one. So I need to know the size, and then I also need to know exactly, right in here, exactly what you want printed on there. Do you want your first name? Do you want your last name? Do you want your first name and your last name? Options are open to you. Don't put a stupid nickname on there. If you want to put beast mode on there, that's going to put a lot of pressure on you to live up to that nickname. So just be real careful about what you want to put on there. So the first jacket's right there, second jacket's right there, third jacket's right there. If you're only ordering one, you just fill out that one section. The other thing that I want to make you aware of too is that the orders for these are due by Friday, March the 6th at the end of training. If we wait too much longer than that, it's going to take about 2 weeks for the jackets to get ordered and embroidered and all that stuff. We don't want to leave that too long. So Friday, March 6th at the end of training, and I'll tweet out reminders about that and remind and email blasts and whatnot. How about shoes? Everybody wants to know about track and field shoes. Everybody on the team needs a good pair of running shoes for doing their training in. We do a lot of movement during practice, and so we need a pretty good shoe. Some athletes are going to also need specialty shoes like spikes for their event. You don't want to try and triple jump in your flats unless you're just kind of learning the event. So you want to talk with your son's event coach and find out what they might need. You can walk into just about any of the stores in the area, Dick's, Academy. Those guys all sell shoes, and typically they're really overpriced at this time of the season. So I typically send people to places like eastbay.com. They're a big track and field shoe distributor. There's a group out of Illinois called dickpond.com, and they have a lot of stuff, including some really, really good deals on closeouts. But you can also find really good deals on eBay. So I would encourage you to look on eBay and see if you can find something. No need to just walk into Dick's and drop $100. I'd rather you found a pair for $50 and save the other $50 for something down the road. No need to make this into a real expensive proposition. How about travel to the meets? When we go to the meets, it's Greenville County School District policy that you must be on the bus. There's some exceptions to this, but you have to have some really, really special reasons. So, for example, last year we had a kid who had a routine doctor appointment with a specialist that he couldn't really change, that was happening at 3:45 in the afternoon. So he had to go to the doctor's appointment. So by the time he got back from the doctor's appointment, he couldn't make it to the bus. So that would be a good reason for traveling to the meet on your own steam. So think through the reason, and if you have a good one, feel free to ask me. What the procedure is you ask me for permission to deviate from that Greenville County policy, and then I go to Mr. Mayfield and I communicate to him what the deal is, and then he comes back to me and says approved or not approved, and then I let you know that. So that's kind of the chain of command. If you miss a bus for the meet, you missed your chance to compete that day. So don't have mom or dad bring you down to the meet. You need to be on time, and that's not just Saturday meets, but that's after school meets as well. We don't wait for anyone, so it doesn't matter if you're the best guy on the team or one of the younger guys on the team. We're not waiting for you. Now, the exception to that would be if you're going to be 15 seconds late. As soon as you know that you're going to be late, you might want to shoot me a text because I can hold the bus for just a minute or two. But if you're going to be 15 minutes late, you probably missed your shot. Again, communication pretty important. Traveling home from meets. You should be on the bus with the team. That's what Mr. Mayfield prefers. But there are some circumstances where you can ride home with your own parent or guardian. If, number one, you're done competing, so you got to be completely finished with your events, and that would include relays at the end of the meet, fellas. You have permission from your event coach and from me, so you need to check in with your event coach, find out if it's okay for you to leave, and then check in with me and find out if it's okay from my perspective. And then you have to fill out our form. We have a special form, and I'm going to show that to you in just a second. And then you've got to personally hand me that form as you are leaving, not give it to your buddy to give to me or stick it on my bag. You have to physically come, look me in the eye, hand me the form. And sometimes at meets, it's going to take a little bit of time to find me. If you ride the bus home, your ride should be waiting for you when the bus arrives at the school. So as soon as we know an exact arrival time, we're going to text that to the parents. The boys will communicate with whoever's picking them up, let you know our exact arrival times. So they say, hey, we'll be at the school at 10 p.m. So the ride needs to be at the school waiting on them at 9:55 p.m. Because the last thing I want to do at 10 o'clock on a school night is be waiting in the bus area for somebody to pick you up. I want to drop you off, bus gets cleaned up, jump in the car, and you head for home. We're always going to pick up and drop off in the student parking lot. So parents, if you're looking for where to park, that's where it is, student parking lot. So right here you see pickup permission slip right there. Again, that opens as a document. So you can print these out. I only need one of these per meet. So right here you write in your parent name, request permission to pick up my son, and you write your son's name in right there. And you write in the date and where you're picking them up from. So East Side High School, Spring Valley High School, wherever it is. You sign it right there. You date it right there. You hand it. You have your son hand it to me, and we're good to go. That's the procedure. So that's how we handle pickup from meets. End of the year, we're going to have a banquet. Banquet is not mandatory, folks, but I highly encourage you to come. Everybody at the meet is acknowledged. I like the guys to talk about their experience during the year. It's really, really helpful for me to hear how things were for them. The athlete meal is already paid for. That's part of that $35 fee, so the guys are all set. They can come and eat. It's really good. We do pasta, different kinds of pasta, and salads and bread and desserts and whatnot. Really, really quite a good meal. I look forward to it every year. Parents and guests, you're also welcome to come and eat. We charge you $10 if you're going to eat, or if you don't want to eat, you can also come and watch for free. So again, look on the schedule. You'll see that the banquet is scheduled for Thursday, May 28th, so that's a couple weeks after our season. We typically have it in the Commons area, and we start at 6:30, and we're usually out of there by 8, so we make it pretty quick, not painful like some of the banquets you've been to. If you have younger brothers or sisters or other folks that you're watching who are under 12 and under, they can eat for half price. So we don't charge them 10, we charge them 5. So I'm looking forward to that already. Every year people want to know about the letter policy. How do you letter in the sport of track and field? Well, anybody who advances to the state qualifier earns a varsity letter. So that's pretty challenging. This is definitely a hard sport to letter in. But the letter means more than some other sports. There's a lot of sports where 40, 50 guys are going to get a varsity letter, and in track and field, we're not going to have 40 or 50 guys. We might have 10 or 12 or maybe as many as 15 guys who get that letter, but that's kind of special. You can see the past results at scrunners.com if you want to kind of figure out, okay, well, what level do I have to be at to make it to state qualifier? You can go and do all your research right there on scrunners.com. The other people who can earn a letter are seniors who have demonstrated commitment and leadership all throughout the season, have done a great job for us. If they don't quite make it to the state qualifier meet, we're still going to honor and acknowledge that commitment and leadership, and we're going to award them a letter. But they've got to be doing the right thing all the way along. So make sure that you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, seniors. Just in case you come up a little short, you want to get that letter. How about the money? Well, here's what I'd like you to do. I'd like you to take an envelope, and I'd like you to write your son's name on the outside. Then I'd like you to write down each item on the outside. Everybody pays that $35 team fee, so write that down on the outside. And then there's also the $60 jacket fee, but again, that's not mandatory. So if you're going to get a jacket, $60 for that, for each jacket you're getting. And you need to supply me a completely filled out order form. So it can be one check. So if you're getting one jacket and the team fee, that's $95, and just add $60 on for each jacket that you're getting in addition to that one, or just $35 if you're not getting any jackets. And make sure that that order form for the jacket is inside that envelope and that your son's name's on the outside so that I won't know what's going on. There's a bunch of forms you have to fill out, parents, and I'm really sorry, but this is kind of the environment we live in. We got to make sure that we've dotted all our I's and crossed all our T's. So I'm going to take you through and I'm going to show you some of the forms, and I'm going to walk you through it. And please bear with me while I do this, because if you turn in forms and they're not filled out correctly, which with some of these forms is very, very easy to do, then I'm just simply going to have to kick it back to him. And really, we don't have enough time for us to really get all the issues worked out. What's going to wind up happening is guys that don't have their forms in first part of the week and are not ready to go are not going to get a chance to compete in the scrimmage. So bear with me as I show you the forms. First one is called GHS forms. So you click right there. There's your GHS forms. Again, it downloads as a document. Some of these things, if you played another sport at JLMan, you've probably already filled this out. But if you're not sure, then, this year it played another sport. If you've already played another sport this year at JLMan, then you've already filled this out. But if you're not sure, fill it out again. So you write in parent name there, you write in your student name right there, and then you put track and field at JLMan right there. Okay? So scrolling on down, we're printing parent guardian name, signing parent guardian name, we're printing the name of the student, and if you have somebody around who's an adult who can witness it for you, that would be fantastic. Then you've got a little bit of a questionnaire that you need to fill out here. Athlete's name, date of birth, grade, etc., etc. Don't leave any of this stuff blank. If any of it's blank, I'm just going to have to send it back to you, and all that does is delay the process. So make sure that your parent guardian signature is there. Again, it's a separate sheet of paper, goes in 2 separate files, so we need that signed, and then you get a date here. Below here, these are all the HIPAA forms where it talks about privacy practices and all the different things about your information that you need to know. So that's the first form, that GHS form. Next thing that we need to know about is the concussion form. And like I said, it's unlikely that your son's going to get concussed in track and field, but he might. So have a look here. Same deal, we click on it, it downloads, it's a Word doc. So this is the tricky one. This gets everybody. Have a look right here. It says parent and athlete, please initial in each box. So parent initials all these boxes, athlete initials all of these boxes. If you just check it, I have to kick it back to you, so make sure you've got an initial in every one of those boxes. Student athlete signature goes there. Students often forget to do that. Parent signature goes right there. Date's there. Print the name of the student. Often we can't read the signature. Print the name of the parent. If you played another sport at JLMan this year, most likely we have this on file for you. But if you're unsure, go ahead and do another one for us. It's always better to have an extra one than for me on Thursday to realize we don't have that for you and we can't compete you in the meet. Okay? Next form that we've got going is a copy of the team rules. And basically the team rules just summarize all the things that we've talked about tonight and all the things we talked about with the boys. Again, we're going to click it. It's a Word doc. It's going to open up. Make sure you've read the whole thing. Go on all the way down. Print the team member name right there. Team member signs it and dates it. Parent signs it and dates it. And that copy of the rules is out there at all times. So if you want to keep a copy of the signed one, you can. Just make sure that I get that back, and that can go in that same envelope with your fees that you're sending in. All right, next thing that we got to talk about is the birth certificate copy. We've got a couple of guys who are in their first time playing a sport at JLMan. Never played a sport at JLMan before. So what we need is a copy of your birth certificate. And there's a couple different ways you can handle this. You can simply take it and photocopy it, and you could email it to me if you wanted, or you could photocopy it and you could stick it into the envelope. Or if you'd like to, you could take your smartphone and you could take a picture of it, and you could email that to me, or you could text it to me. Either one would be just fine. I just need a copy, and what I'll do on this end is I'll simply print it out. If you're in the first time playing a sport at JLMan. You may have given one to Beck. We don't have access to Beck's records. You may have given one to the school that's up in the guidance department. We don't have access to those records either, so we need that. And we can't certify your son as eligible until we have that. Middle school guys, we've got a couple middle school guys on the team. We need a transcript from you, and it needs to show your semester 1 grades. And ideally, it would be great if it could have the birth date of the student on there. In some cases, we don't have that, and so we'll have to just go with the student ID number, which is okay. Just got to make sure that it has the semester 1 grades on there, because we're using that to check eligibility. The next form that you have to fill out is called risk acknowledgement, and this is a pretty important form, so let you have a look. this is something that you might have filled out for another sport this year. Even if you filled it out for another sport, you don't have to resubmit this. But if you have not played another sport at JL Mann this year, then I need that. So I need athlete name, athlete date of birth, JL Mann right there. This one's a little tricky because we're doing a virtual meeting. You're going to simply put in the date of when you watched this video. And so that's how I'm going to confirm that you actually did watch the video, because you're going to be writing in the date right there, and then you're going to put in Coach McAtee conducted the meeting virtually right there, and it asks you if you had the opportunity to have all your questions answered. That's why you have my cell phone number. Feel free to call me at any point if there's anything you're not sure about. I want you to give me a call. You're just basically indicating that you understand that there are risks associated with playing the sport, including this one. And if there's certain medical conditions your son has that you have made us aware of on the physical, but you need to acknowledge those things, then go ahead and write those things right here. Parent and guardian is going to sign right there. Athlete is going to sign right there. We need dates on both of those. If we don't have dates, we can't take it. If we don't have a student signature, we can't take it either. So please make sure that you got that filled out. And again, if you've already done that for a different sport this year, you don't need to fill that out again. That's a one-time per year thing. All those forms should go into the envelope, and you should send it in with your son. Ideal would be on Monday. Okay would be on Tuesday, but by about Wednesday, we're starting to get a little close to the deadline. I still have to sort all those forms, make copies, get them into folders, make sure everything's ready to go, and that doesn't leave us much time prior to the scrimmage on Friday. So earlier in the week, the better. If I don't have those forms by, let's say, Wednesday afternoon at the end of practice, you will not be competing in the scrimmage on Friday the 27th. So please get that stuff in as quick as you can. Folks, that was it. I hope you enjoyed hearing this virtually rather than having to come down to the school. I'm going to put the information from the meeting. The PowerPoint itself will actually go up on the website, so you'll be able to go back and look if there was anything you weren't sure about. But again, if there's any questions you have, please feel free to call me. That's what I'm here for. That's part of my job. So I don't want to steer you away from calling me. One last thing that I have to tell you about is we're going to do a little bit of a fundraiser, and I didn't put any information in here because I really don't know that much about it just yet, but we're planning on selling some hanging baskets with flowers in them this year. I'll get some details, and then I'll communicate that to the boys and also to the parents. It should be a pretty easy fundraiser. Springtime gets here, the weather starts getting nice, people start thinking about hanging baskets, and we want to try and get them to buy them from us. So I'll communicate more about that as we get ready to go. I hope everybody has a great weekend, and we'll look forward to hearing back from you guys over the weekend or first part of next week.